Hi everybody. In this video, we're going to go through the process of using a Global Ocean Design deck purge box to remove moisture and pull a vacuum on an EdgeTech acoustic release. The items we'll need today include this blue hose, model number 110, with a special fitting that adapts to the EdgeTech release. Available as an option to go with the deck purge box. We'll need a flat blade screwdriver. We'll need a standard set of pliers, but we've added a short piece of soft rubber tubing to the ends, so when we grip the aluminum plug, it won't damage the anodize. In addition to that, we'll also need Kim wipes for cleaning the O-rings, isopropyl alcohol, and some high vacuum grease to lubricate the O-rings when we go to install the plug back into the end of the end cap when we're done with the purge process. All right, so now we're going to expose the purge port and its purge port plug on the EdgeTech acoustic release. To do that, we have to remove this one block. That's really just an anti-rotation device for this release element here. So we undo those screws and we pull that off and set that down. And then we have the purge port plug right here. So we will use our pliers that have the soft rubber tips on them to grab the plug without damaging the anodize. There we go. And you can hear the vacuum drawing air in. So here's our plug with the double O-ring seal on it. And we will need to clean this and get it ready to go back in prior to us doing the purge, because there's no check valve here. You heard the air being drawn back in by the vacuum. So we'll need to clean this and get it all ready to go before we do the purge operation. So we're done with that part. And now we're going to use our purge system hose here, which fits right into the same place. It has the same size O-ring, only one, you only need one. And this hose then connects onto our deck purge box, right there. And so now we're gonna be able to draw air out and then allow the vacuum to draw air back in over a desiccating cartridge and dry the air, taking all the moisture out in preparation for its deployment. All right, to do this job now, we need to pop off this little yellow cap, which caps the end of this desiccant cartridge. We have a little note here to help remember that. And we need a place to put it. I usually just throw it on the switch. I start usually on the vacuum leak test position here because there's a valve. As you rotate this thing around over to vacuum, it opens the valve more and more, and so you get a lot more flow. So depending on how much capacity or volume you have on the inside here, you may want to start off easy and then, ramp it up. So we'll start right there. Again, we're plugged in here. The third position is over here. When we're done pulling the vacuum, we rotate it around to desiccant, and now the air is being drawn in over the desiccant, drying it out so there's no moisture on the inside. And we cycle it back and forth maybe 3 times. So let's do this. Turn it on. Universal power supply over here, running anywhere all around the world. And let's go. So now we're going to open the valve up, begin drawing the vacuum, and you can see the gauge here going up. We want to take it to about a half an atmosphere, which is pretty much top dead center. So we kind of come in about there. And that's good, and then we can stop here on this vacuum leak test port, and we can watch that needle. And if the needle doesn't move, that means all of the other seals, except the very last one here we can't test, but it means all the other seals are solid. And that looks pretty solid. It's not moving at all. So let's proceed with the purge operation. We now move the valve towards desiccant and moderating the flow with the valve here. And the air, as is being drawn over the desiccant, is dynamically being dried. Coming out the other end here is absolutely dry. The advantage of that is that we take the moisture out and it lowers the dew point, So when you go deep where it's cold, this moisture doesn't condense on the electronics. So we just took half the air out. Now we're going to take and then replace it with a half volume of dry air. Now we're going to go the other way and draw another half of the volume out. So as the air is drawn back in, it turbulates and blends the dry air with the original air. And so now we're taking out another half, which is a fourth of the original volume of air, and therefore a fourth of the original moisture content. So there we are, sitting at half point. No leaks, looks good. Let's go ahead and draw air back in over the desiccant. And you can see the pressure, the vacuum on the inside is falling off as the pressure goes back to atmospheric. So the vacuum is drawing in the air. There we go. And now for completeness, we're just going to take it down for a third time. About a half an atmosphere. And right about there. A little more, whoops. So we have a dynamic reading and a static reading. There you go. So, yeah, so no leaks, looks good. So now, actually, at that point, we can turn this off if we want. This valve, this gauge is connected directly to the housing and independent of everything else. So, yeah, good leak test, it looks good. So now we're going to pull the fitting and put the purge port plug back in. So this step now, we're going to replace this, pull this hose out, and then replace the purge port plug back into the purge port. So we've already cleaned and greased and inspected these O-rings to make sure they're fine and everything is good. So it's ready to go back in. And prior to putting this thing in, we actually cleaned the bore already. So so everything's really clean and greased and ready to go. Reason we have to do that is there's no check valve on the inside here, and so as soon as we pull this out, the vacuum is going to start pulling air back in. So we have to kind of go ready, set, go. And so our technique for doing that really is to pull this out, put our thumb over the hole, then we can pick up the plug and get ready, set, go, and then we push it in. So here we go. Now this is ready to go, and we lock it in. There you go. So that'll retain the vacuum on the inside. So with a double O-ring seal, you're pretty confident if you take the time to clean and inspect everything, you're very confident that that final seal is going to be just fine. So our vacuum leak test over here showed everything else was good, and this is the only thing we take kind of as a leap of faith. But if we're careful and meticulous, then odds are very much in our favor. So now we'll replace this anti-rotation block, and she's ready for C. There we go, all done.